So what do you mean exactly, Sandy, when you say defund the police? Because the first black president of the United States, Barack Obama, in an interview on Good Luck America, I think it was in 2020, famously dismissed the call to defund the police as a snappy slogan. He said what organizers like you really want are reforms, not police abolition. Is that true?
No, it's not true. And it's like, so disappointing that the Hope and Change president said this is just a snappy slogan. The Medicare for All president says this is just a snappy slogan. He knows what the power is of putting something like a complicated idea, not even complicated, but an idea into a pithy statement. It's a very powerful thing to be able to do something like that. And he's done it so remarkably over the course of his political career. No, I'm not looking for reforms, because one of the things that I look into and talk about in the book is the number of reforms that have been tried and tried again and tried again, and that fail to address the issues that people say they care about when we talk about police brutality and the problems with policing. So what we know definitively after years and years and cycles of the same reforms being discussed is that reforms don't work. We just need to address these issues in different ways. And instead of believing that we can turn this institution that was expressly created to control people and the most marginalized and destitute and discriminated against people, we have to stop deluding ourselves into believing that we can transform that into some sort of purveyor of safety when it has most consistently shown that it is, in fact, a service that makes scores of people less safe.
So what would a future society without policing look like to you? Because for some people, that's a pretty dystopian idea, a world without police. They're going to say, who are the folks who are going to investigate the serial killers? Who are the folks who are going to investigate homicides? Who are the folks who are going to deal with behavior that is unbecoming in our communities, that causes people to feel unsafe? So what does that society without police look like?
One of the things that I say in the book, and I really do strongly believe this for any sort of policy or issue that we're dealing with in our society, is that we don't have to have all the answers right away. We just need to try to deal with what the issues are. I think that is the case whether we're talking about AI or what's going on with climate change. We don't have to have the full sum total of exactly how it's going to look. And quite frankly, as we continue to shape and change and give more responsibility to police, policing wasn't implemented exactly as it looks today back in the 1700s. In fact, we have a democratic system of government renewal where every year new policies are passed, new measures are passed to change things. So I want people to remember that. There's this idea often that when people say, like abolition is ridiculous, what exactly would the world look like? Well, we don't know. It's a process. We're always continually remaking our world. But there are a few things that I think would be clear right off the bat. One is that I think we would have a society that focuses a lot more on the people who are harmed in a situation and making sure that they are safe, that they have what they need, that we're focused on trying to resolve how people have been harmed, and not just focused on punishment, but focused on making sure that those people who've been harmed are okay, are able to live their lives. And then also taking a look at the people who have implemented harm and recognizing that, okay, we want to prevent this from happening again. So can we do a little bit more work to find out how we got to this place in the first place and how we can make sure that this never happens again? Currently, no one's really doing that. Doesn't that just seem obvious that we should want to prevent issues from happening again?